a Motorsport Podcast Network production. Sleuthers, good to have you with us. This is the V8 Sleuth podcast. I'm Aaron Noonan. At the other end of the line is Mark Walker. And on this episode, we're previewing what's coming up. And that is the Phillip Island Penrite 100 Classic. It's our chance to have a look at some of the cars, some of the interesting names and faces that will be at the island this weekend. Because you know what? The last few weeks have seen no motorsport in the country of Australia at all. There's been nothing on. No one's been at any. That man who's going at the other end is Mark Walker, who's been at pretty much all of it. My friend, this feels like a motorsport marathon of February, March, but it's kind of like, you know, the Olympic marathon when you see them running to the stadium, that last 400 metres, and there's a little bit of extra energy because there's something special on the line. I feel like that's what this event is for the last, 6 weeks of Australian racing, from Sydney 500, Bathurst 12 Hour, Adelaide Motorsport Festival, Australian Grand Prix. This is kind of like the 400 metres in that last run around the stadium.
Happy podcast to you, Noons. I tell you what, good time to be alive in Victoria at the moment, isn't it? Grand Prix week, rolling into the Phillip Island Classic. And it's something that's been linked that way forever and a day, that you can combine the two. There'd be a lot of tourists hanging around after the Grand Prix to head down to Phillip Island. I know my first trip to both of those events came in 2007, did the double header from Queensland, and it's just a great little combo. And I think it also works out too, having them Adelaide Motorsport Festival the week before the Grand Prix, having a bit of a spread there so that cars can do all three. And like we saw a number of cars come out for the Grand Prix. They had some historic demonstrations there. They're going to hang around and go down to Phillip Island. Some of those key cars like the King Cobra was out there on the weekend that has dominated historic motorsport in Europe, has made the trip down under because they can do a double header at the Grand Prix and Phillip Island, which is fantastic to see.
It's the classic thing, isn't it, where if you're going to get bang for your buck and you're going to travel for an event, you may as well get a couple or a trio in at any one given time. There's a lot of people who are probably thinking at the moment, gee, times are financially a bit difficult. The world's a little bit uncertain. There's a lot going on. Motor racing in some areas is struggling for numbers, but gee, this event's just delivered again. I think at last count, I saw an entry list with 364, I think it was, combined entries across all the categories. It's a stunning show of support for this event that has been, look, it's the bannerhead leader, clubhouse leader, isn't it, of historic motor racing events in Australia. Yes, we have a commercial partnership with the VHRR, but when I say that as a motorsport enthusiast and someone that's been looking at this for a long time. And I think pretty much everybody else in the country would agree. Well, there's nothing that really compares, that goes toe-to-toe. If there's something, I don't think it's standing up for long enough in the argument to warrant the argument.
No, the numbers don't lie, do they? 364 is a big number in anyone's book. It's great to see. And yeah, the event, it just keeps evolving and it keeps moving with the times, and you know, having the 5 Litre Touring Cars out there, which is great to see. It opens up an avenue for all those guys to get out there and have a run. And I think, too, we've got to pay tribute to the fact that it's going to be a 3-day meeting, which I think is actually a good thing, because these are historic cars in a lot of cases. 4-day race meetings was a hard ask on them, and you get to Sunday afternoon and be the survival of the fittest. But the fact that they condensed it down to 3 days, that is a lot more manageable for people and machines, I think.
I think it's a win. Trying to have a 4-day event, and then you consider for the competitors and the people supporting them, depending on where they're coming from, that can turn into a 6-day event by the time you get there, get home. So it's the best part of a week, which is a massive undertaking for what is not professional full-time motor racing. I mean, we're not talking about the Supercars Championship or things like that along the way. So you talk about the evolution of this event. The next evolution is this weekend. By the way, the event is Friday to Sunday. That's March 13 to 15. But if you can't be there, you can actually see it for the first time, Mark, because our friends at Blendline TV will be broadcasting the streaming coverage on Saturday and Sunday. That's another major step forward that I tell you, this event needed to do this a long time ago. They've got there now. It's going to open up new opportunities for them moving forward.
And I don't think it's going to take away from the gate, because you go to this event because it is the best event. If you can, you go there. That's not a problem. But because it's got such a following around the region, so many competitors drawn from all the states and territories and overseas, there's a lot of interest from around the place. And Blendline do a great job with everything that they do, and they'll do the event justice, which will be something good to watch back on next week.
There's plenty to look at, and that is, as you say, the real benefit of being able to physically go. We'll run through the categories in this pod in terms of some of the who's there, what's there, and the like. But it's not just the cars that are racing on the track, because this event draws a whole pile of display cars from various car clubs. Like literally, it's hundreds of cars that are parked up around the circuit that you can just get lost having a bit of a car perv in the car park, let alone making it to having a look at the racetrack or the paddock or what's going on. Penrite's bringing a bunch of their cars from the Lane 88 Museum as well, which is cool to see. But if you're a car tragic, you'll find friends here. You'll find people who like the things that you like, even if you don't know anybody else that likes them.
Troublemaking friends, go to the Phillip Island Classic. As much as being a car perv is a good thing at this event, I love the trade hall that they have over opposite the pit straight there. That's just filled up with all the little allied trade stands, all the bookstores, all these other things that come out of the woodwork. I go in there and I spend considerable time. And now that I'm saying this out loud, I haven't factored this into my program for the weekend, so we're going to have to go back and revisit that, because I always go a little bit crazy and over the top there, and we have to sort of hide packages for the walk back into the house later on.
Mark's Motorsport Library does cop a little bit of an extra assist when he goes to the Phillip Island Classic, because you never know what you're going to find. That's, it's just how it is. Tell you what is exciting, and I was a little concerned about this in terms of the numbers, but we don't get to see Formula 5000s race very often anymore in historic competition because of the limited number of circuits that they're eligible to run on these days. But last time I counted, the field of Formula 5000s for this weekend's 15 cars, which is a really good turnout. And I mean, a Formula 5000 car on its own making noise is cool, but you get 15 of those things firing down turn one on that Gardner Straight. That's pretty cool. That'll be something to listen and definitely see, but more so hear.
And feel. I mean, they entice all the senses, don't they? They probably taste nice as well, I'd imagine. I don't know how that works.
You had a little nibble on an exhaust pipe somewhere along the line.
They're just cool cars, and they're made for Phillip Island, aren't they? It's meant to be. A lot's been said about Phillip Island lately, but it's still it's a premium place. It's manicured. It looks fantastic, and it offers probably the best spectating experience you can. You sit either side of the track, you can see most of it, which is not something you can talk about anywhere else. And you've got a beautiful vista there over Bass Strait. You add F5000s to that mix, and it's just a great day out.
Weather's supposed to be good. Last time I checked, it's looking pretty solid for all 3 days. By the way, Friday's free at Phillip Island. Can you believe that? I mean, that is, if that's not an idea that you've got to take up on Friday, conveniently, maybe you might need a sick note if you should be working on Friday.
There have been a lot of people taking sickies lately. It's unbelievable, Noons. Like,
it's just a thing.
There's a lot of illness getting around.
There's illness going around, Mark, and sometimes it gets to you, and sometimes you can't do anything about it. It's just how it is. But single day passes, $40 Saturday, $40 Sunday. I think it's one of the best value for money motorsport events around. $70 for a weekend pass. You can go and have a look at the cars really closely. You can go and quite often owners will say, "Hey, come in. Does your kid want to sit in the car?" Then shoo away. You're getting in the way. That's the difference between this is not, as I said before, this is not professional motorsport. No one's racing futures are depending on how things roll out on the weekend. So it's a celebration as much of people, cars, culture as it is of motorsport. And there's really fans of all ages. I see at this event over the years. It's not just the oldies who, I saw that car back in the day, but they're telling their kids about it and their kids' kids about it. And that's what keeps the stream of this motorsport history and heritage alive.
I'll be taking my 6-year-old down on Sunday. And I've got to tell you, Noons, exactly what you said there. Nothing irritates me more than him getting invited to sit in these race cars that I love, and he just does not understand what's going on. Oh, this is cool. I'm sitting in a race car. Mate, you kidding me? It's a great race car. That's a Bathurst winner. We've got them there this weekend, and you're invited to sit in it. Good on you, mate.
It's a bit easier when you're 6 and small and cute and can fit into things rather than fat, old and ugly like Hey, let's get into some of the what's on and who's where, because it's a pretty impressive lineup. Being V8 Sleuth, let's start with the tin tops, because I guess they draw a lot of the attention, the focus. Two groups of them. Obviously, there's the Group A and C and 2 litre cars and V8 heritage touring car category that's racing, but the 5 litre touring cars, which is basically a super sprint for all sorts of different cars of that era. I mean, this is the cool part, or one of the cool parts of this category, is that we're going to see a Mercedes-Benz E63 AMG back on the track with Kai Allen, the Grove Penrite Supercars driver, taking the wheel of the car that Will Davison drove in Adelaide. The sight and sound of one of those Erebus Mercs at Phillip Island, that will be, well, you can close your eyes when this field goes past and you know which one Kai is, basically.
So 2013 vintage car, it's almost as old as Kai. That's ridiculous.
Hey, you're aging us when you say that. Don't say that. Don't say that.
But
But the beauty of
that's
this
a cool
category
thing. Yeah.
but the beauty of this category, mate, is that it goes right up to cars into the car of the future era, all the way back to the early 5 litre era. So from EB Falcon, which Dave Murphy's bringing his ex-Dick Johnson Shell Racing EB Falcon, which is the 93 Bathurst car that was crashed and's been repaired and has been refettled and returned to the track, right through to stuff like the 2016 Styx Techno Bathurst winning Commodore. There's HRT cars of the same era. Chris Stillwell's got the Xbox Marcus Ambrose FGX Falcon. So there's a little bit of everything from all of the flavors and the eras of 5 litre V8 touring cars into car of the future V8 supercars. It's a cool little way to, and a lot of people say, well, hang on, this is not historic. Well, hang on. You go back to the early 2000s. It's 25 years ago. That's I don't care what dictionary you run. That's historic. They don't run anymore. It's a thing. It's history. We should be celebrating it and getting it out there. And that's what this category is about.
An absolute personal favourite of mine was Andrew O'Connell's Bud Falcon AU.
Oh, prancing horse car. Yeah.
Prancing horse car. That's just an absolute all-time favourite of mine for some reason. Did nothing for Bud Racing, then it became Cameron McLean's car the next year. But cool car. Love that car.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in here. Hugh Zockling's got his ex-Red Bull 888 car. Peter Aboud runs an ex-Super Cheap Auto. Paul Morris Team Commodore VE. Jacob Curry's got an ex-Ford Performance Racing BF Falcon. That's the Mark Winterbottom Cobra car you might remember from, what was that, late 2007, that period of that era. Andrew Cook's got a Team Dynamic car. Steve Langley's a Super Cheap Auto Steve Ellery car. Ben Eggleston's having a run in one of his team's VF Commodores. Martin Wagg, his father-in-law's there in one of the ex-Garth Tander HRT VFs. It's kind of the modern touring car category. It's super sprints, though. They're not racing, but they're at speed on the track. It looks, smells, and feels like a race. There's just no lineup on the grid, and the things that go with the formalities of an official race.
Yeah, it's still competitive. They're still going as hard as they can. They still can overtake. It's not like it's one car 20 seconds apart. They're all out there bunched together, and it just sort of eliminates that first corner shenanigans that can often break out completely by accident. Just a little bit nicer on the cars that way. But yeah, it looks and smells and feels like a race, which is it's always cool to see. And a few little invited cars at Chris Clarahan and Bolwell Nagari. Like you see Chris getting around at it, but just a classic name from the past, and he's still out there banging around, which is great to see.
Sean Day is going to run a GT3 RSR Porsche in that category as well, by the way. So there are some invited ring-ins to that category, which is great. That I think one of the things sometimes that we have here in Australia, New Zealand's really good at this, of putting your arms around cars and going, okay, we don't quite have a class or a category or a bracket for you, but you know what? We'll find a way. We'll get you in with someone to have a run, because at the end of the day, the more cars, the merrier. They do a really good job in New Zealand, and I think that's the scenario that they've had unfold here with some of those invited cars. Let's take a look, mate, at heritage touring cars, because this is a bit of a favourite of so many of our listeners as well. It's Group C, it's Group A, it's Super Tourers. There are the earlier V8s that are now eligible for that category. But going through the list, there's some standout cars that some of our listeners will definitely know. There's some names that our listeners will definitely know. Andrew Miedeke is probably at the top of the list in that Kenwood Sierra that has run at Phillip Island in previous years. That's the number 6 RS500 Cosworth. But it's not the only Sierra in the pack down there, because Terry Lawler's returning to the category with a refurbished, restored, refettled DJR Sierra, which is Dick's 1990 car off the top of my head, that ran with the Kiwis, Kane Scott and Greg Taylor at Bathurst in 91. It's had a full resto. Chris Stillwell's in his XB&H Sierra as well. So they're probably going to be the form cars to chase down at the island.
But Andrew Cavalli there is in his Murray Carter Netcom, easy for some to say, Sierra, which is cool to see. And one of the privateer Fords from back in the day out there, Aaron Hodges has restored one of the cars, and it's great to see it come out of the shed, completely out of the woodworks, and he's coming down from Queensland to debut that car.
So that's the ex-Kevin Clark Group A car that, from my memory, became a sports sedan later on. It's been restored back to its Group A spec.
True.
That's been a multi-year resto, so that'll be cool to see that. You did a great story on that on the website in recent weeks. But Elliot Barber's having another run. Remember that he ran at Winton last year in that Kerry McMahon Yellow Pages Mazda RX-7, so Elliot's having a pedal there. He'll be really quick. M3 BMWs, they are a cool thing, particularly the latter era of those cars. Ed Sansel's down there running his Diet Coke M3.
I like the colour for that is Diet Coke. How can you describe the colour of that car?
If you look at the entry list, there's other cars. Their colour is listed as white, black, red, yellow, white, blue, red. For Ed Sansel's BMW, it just says Diet Coke, which I think is pretty accurate. What is also accurate is that Rick Allen's got yellow for his car, which is the final B&H BMW, the car that Tony Longhurst drove in at Bathurst in 92 with Johnny Cicotto, and then in the championship in 93. That's the Cam McLean car that he raced later on in, was it Thundersports, Sports Sedans, any all? There was about 8 categories and different names going at the time, which has been covered off actually in V8 Sleuth issue 1 with Cam McLean's racing career, including a bit about that M3. So if you've not got a copy, get on board with that. But BM-wise, David Toe with his M3, the JPS car, Dean Howe with his JPS 635, Trev Schumack with his Super Touring 318i BMW. So if you're a BM tragic, you tick the box. If you're a Sierra tragic, tick the box. If you like Mercs, tick the box, because Mio Nobecki's got his 190E Group A car down there, as well as Jerome Nobecki driving the 190E 2.3, which is that DTM car that has been, I think it was at the island in previous years. It might be its first time. But, if you're a tragic for that, if you love a good V8 Holden or Ford, you're sweet. Tony Sawford's got his Grice A9X hatchback down there. Anthony Tenkate's got his Warren Cullen Commodore. Jason Delaney, now that's a car we haven't seen for a while. That's the ex-Brian Callahan mobile concrete pumping VL carburetted Commodore that Jason Bargwanna made his Bathurst debut in back in 1990, sitting on a pillow. True story. That's how he could reach the wheel. Pinched it from the motel the night before. True.
I've left plenty of pillows in hotel rooms. I haven't pinched one to
stolen them.
Do the Bathurst 1000. Good grief.
Yeah,
cool stories. Like
true story.
Dom Demetriadis out there in his Lansvale car we featured on the website recently. It's done a stack of Bathurst. A lot of these cars have. Like in the Group A era, they raced 6-7 times a pop, which was cool to see.
And then it's not just about the big cars too. By the way, if you're a Ford V8 fan, there's not much for you, but Ian Ross, who's a regular in that Mike Emery XD Falcon, he's in the lineup as well. But
and also Jacob Curry with the
that's right, yeah, he's
car.
the green stuff. Yeah, the rebuilt green stuff. Dick Johnson, what would you call it? The night after car that lined up on the grid at Bathurst in 83. That ran at Winton last year, so it's great to see that car back. Paul Stubber's got one of the RX-7s down there. Another BMW we didn't mention was Scott Robinson, the 325i. That's a pretty potent little car too.
It's a beautiful car. Like that, it's mint.
And quite often you get some of these cars that over time, they've actually become more successful as historic cars than they were in the period, because they were just overshadowed by the big name teams and the big name cars and the outright V8s, but it's about the little cars just as much as it's about the big cars. And one of the ones that I think is great to see, and obviously there's a lot of Victorians, Queenslanders, and New South Wales competitors, but we've got one from Tassie in Peter Killick, who's bringing over the little Corolla that I think he had a run at Adelaide in it a few weeks ago. The old, it was a car from the British Touring Car Championship, but it
The
raced here with,
Toms.
correct, yeah, and it raced with Frank Binding in the early 90s, and Peter's having a pedal in it as well. So he won't be the only one in a small car. There's a bunch of Corollas. Dave Patterson's a regular in his Sprinter. Dave's back for another run. Craig Foster with the ex-Toyota Team Australia car. He's having a pedal as well. Ian Helsden is there as well with his Sprinter. So if you like the small little cars, there's something for you beyond just the V8s and the turbo stuff at the front. So really good, solid, chunky A and C field for Phillip Island at the Penrite 100 Classic. But I tell you, when you look at the historic touring car Group N category, though, literally you'll need all day to read the entry list because it's massive.
Oh, it's fantastic. 60 cars spread between over and under 2 litres, so absolutely something for everyone. The front of the field at Group N is ridiculous. The Camaros, the Mustangs, they're pretty highly tuned these days. They are absolute rocket ships. They sound and look fantastic, and at Phillip Island they can stretch their legs and put on a great show.
So they've got that many cars, they had to split them into over and under 2 litre. That's crazy. That says everything. Group N is, for all of the spend that's going on at the top level of that category, it's insane that there's so many cars around and they're getting them all in the one place at the one time to have such a big field. That is absolute strength in numbers. And I think too, you look at Group Q and R, so that's 70s to 90s sports and racing cars. There's 39 of those things entered at the island this weekend, but it's the level of difference between them. You go from Andrew Miedeke, he's double dutying. He's in the touring car, but he's also in his March 76B Atlantic car. But then you've got Can-Am Lolas, you've got Formula One Hesketh and Ferraris, familiar names, cool cars. There's kind of a story with every car and every driver here.
There is. All the cars have great stories. Like Andrew Kluver's Lola Can-Am car, that was a KK Rosberg car back in the day. Amazing looking thing. It's an F5000 with a bit of bodywork on it. Andy Newell there in his McLaren M6B, great car. Steve Webb, John O. Webb's old man, out there in the Alpha 360, which was actually in the title fight there at Phillip Island 51 years ago for the Australian Sports Car Championship, and the car it was up against will be out there in that race. So
Tom
Alpha
Tweedy in the MS7, yeah.
So that it's a rematch 51 years on at Phillip Island, which is cool to see.
I love it.
Guido Belgiano Nettis and the Ferrari 156 1985 Ferrari F1 car, they're awesome. They are so cool.
We've seen them so many times at that event, but you know what? It wouldn't be that event without those cars.
And then you got Malcolm Osler, like he's out there in his role, but Malcolm Osler is Mr. Reynard. Like he designed so many brilliant Reynard open wheelers over the years, and he's actually a very, very handy peddler himself, like whether it's at circuit racing or hill climbs these days, which he does a lot of, and he'll be out there absolutely in the mix. Timmy Macro, like he's in a smaller class car, but Timmy macros it around the track and absolutely gives the bigger cars a shake. So that'll be cool to see. Duncan McKellar as well. He's got a 934 Porsche Turbo, and that's a beast of a car. Is that
the XL and Moffat? That's the XL and Moffat?
I have a feeling it is. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sports Car Championship winning 934. Yeah, I mean, did you just describe a new verb as Timmy macroing it?
Yes, I did.
If you looked it up in the dictionary, what does Timmy macroing it mean?
Having an absolute red hot Aussie go. 2-time Australian Drivers' Champion. He was 2 times, wasn't it? 2 times the same number as John Bowe won it, didn't he? And John Bowe's going to be there.
John Bowe is going to be in a Porsche 911. So that's sports and racing cars, Group M&O. There's 25 of those on the list. Some more McLarens in among all of that. There's, mate, seriously, the entry list just keeps on flipping. When you buy the program driving into the track over
you get a free one when you buy your ticket.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah,
well, good days. And even if you don't, it still doesn't cost you a great deal. I think it's
10
10
bucks.
bucks for a program, which is good news. But basically, you'll be there all day going through the list of entries because there's just so many of these damn things.
58 Group S cars, and those guys,
58? Did you say
I
58?
did.
Wow.
They turn on some of the best racing, and it's a mix. You have Corvettes, you have Shelby Mustangs, but they're just as quick as a well-driven MG or a Porsche or what everything else out there that's well-driven. They all sort of converge at a point at the front of the field, and Phillip Island. It's an interesting mix because you need that handling there, and some of the cars just don't necessarily have the handling that the smaller cars do have.
And the straights are not their friend, but there's enough slower parts to be able to earn it all back.
The main straight's downhill. You're fine. Just get in that slipstream. You'll be right, baby.
Yeah.
Send it.
You'll get towed. Just
Actually, if
get
you
in
want
a
to tow, you look at the Formula Fords. Like 34 Formula Fords, it's a good field. And the old cars, they still race like Formula Fords. They all have a
Yep.
red hot chop.
Yep, the formula is very much the same, whether it's the current category or the historic cars. The formula and the ethos behind it is exactly the same. We mentioned Formula 5000 before. 15 of those. There's 34 on the entry list for Formula Ford, so there's enough
Mm.
slipstreaming to keep you happy if you're a Formula Ford driver. There's 39 in the pre 1931 to 1960 sports and racing cars and Formula Vs. There's 41 cars taking part in regularity. Seriously, it's a busy, busy racetrack with a lot going on.
You mentioned the Formula Vs. They're sort of a subset within the race there. They might start out the back and be a bit slower than the other cars, but I can guarantee you that will be the best race that you're going to see in 2026 is going to be the Formula Vs. There'll be about 12 of them, 3 car lengths split by the end of the race. They're just fantastic. They're not fast, but boy, they're fun. It's just good to
you,
see.
you don't need to be fast to turn on a close motor race. They'll prove that. That's for sure. 3-day event this year. That is a difference, as we mentioned at the start of the pod. But you can get your tickets online or at the gate. Single day passes $40 for Saturday, Sunday, free for Friday. A weekend pass for $70. Streaming coverage is on Blendline across Saturday and Sunday. Probably YouTube's the easiest way to go about that. But there'll be, as always with this event, there's always something there in terms of a car on display or a familiar old face. There's always someone or something there that isn't kind of pre-advertised because nobody knew that it was going to happen. There's always something that you kind of just got to be there to be able to see it.
Oh, 100%. And Phillip Island this time of year, like this is the reason why Phillip Island's there as Melbourne's little holiday place because the weather's mint. You can go down there, go down the main street. I think they're doing a bit of renos down the main street at the moment, but still Pino's will be open. All these classic Phillip Island places, go down to the real fish and chips or go and do the penguin parade. You can make a whole day, a weekend out of it, not just at the racetrack. It's a cool thing.
Do you reckon that there's been so much about Phillip Island in the press in the last 2 or 3 weeks with the news about MotoGP heading to the streets of Adelaide in upcoming years? This will be the last year of Moto at the island in October. It's probably a really good opportunity here that maybe this Phillip Island Classic and this year being the Penrite 100 Classic, I guess we can make it the 101 Classic next year, but there's probably a good opportunity here for if you're a fan of motor racing and you want to go to Phillip Island and you want to take in an event in that part of the country. This is very much the Phillip Island event now if you count out MotoGP.
100%. The crowd will be big. Like it's not MotoGP spec by any standard, but it is always draws a crowd and there'll be a lot of people there and it's a good thing for the island. And I think the reaction from what's gone down there with MotoGP is that the locals aren't very happy that they're going to lose their big event for the year. So I think there'll be a fair bit of support for things like the Phillip Island Classic. And if somebody else can dream up a big way to use the venue, it'll be a good thing because it's a fantastic circuit. And, it mightn't have all the permanent infrastructure that the big circuits of Europe have or, they're going to build around the Adelaide Street Circuit, but it's still pretty good.
What about the V8 Sleuth 2000? We could maybe do that.
What, are you going to drive? You going to have a race?
No, God, no. No way. No one wants to see me do that. Let's get some other cool cars there.
Slow and steady wins the race, Nudes.
Yeah, correct. That's how we roll. Hey, we will be rolling this weekend to the island for the Phillip Island Penrite 100 Classic. Friday, we're going to wander around on Friday, aren't we? Because there's so much to look at. You kind of need to go on the Friday to take it all in before you try to go for the weekend. So we'll be there. If you see us, say hello. If you want to tell us great things, tell us great things. If you want to tell us bad things, we might just not be listening at the time. It might be too noisy on the track. I don't know.
Feedback form on the website for that, thanks.
Yeah, correct. Very true. We're looking forward to it, though. It's one of the great motorsport events of Victoria and of Australia on the calendar every year. Phillip Island Penrite 100 Classic. Grab your tickets online or at the gate. We'll be there for a look. If you can't go, as I mentioned before, jump on Blendline streaming coverage across Saturday and Sunday. There is lots to see, lots to do. If you're looking for something to entertain the kids and they like cars, even if they don't like cars, I think they're going to like this event. The weather, last time I checked, is good, but maybe double check it before you head. Thanks for tuning in to the V8 Sleuth podcast. We will see you at the island. Chat to you again very soon.